Mohawk Raceway in Campbellville, Ontario, the scene of the richest trotting race ever in Canada. Race number 6 in the 1985 Breeders' Crown Series. Good evening, everyone. I'm John Wells. It's a pleasure to greet you from Campbellville, Ontario, wherever you're watching in across North America tonight. We think we've got it all for you. The fastest trotting horse in the history of harness racing and a purse of over $600,000 with $305,000 going to the winner of tonight's 6th race in the Breeders' Crown Series. All this is added up to a lot of excitement in Southern Ontario harness racing circles. Great excitement surrounded last week's Breeders' Crown draw at Mohawk Raceway as several of North America's finest 3-year-olds officially entered the 6th race of the 85 series. None more impressive this year than Prakas, 85 winner of the Hambletonian, and $1.2 million in cash in 17 starts. Prakas is joined by 4 others in the race who were part of the Breeders' Series as 2-year-olds last year. At this level of racing, that's unusual.
Most of these horses have a long, tough campaign from the 2-year-old and to their 3-year-old year, and it is unusual for that many to last that long. Quite often, horses come on, and a new horse will come on in the fall. But in this case, we've had Prakas, for example, raced with us in May of this year, and he's still around and still looks strong.
A quick look back to 1984 when 5 of 8 in the Breeders' Field tonight raced the Red Mile at Lexington as 2-year-old Colts.
Coming from everywhere, 5 across the racetrack, inside Sven Hanover, between them Bond Sport, here comes Workaholic, and he's trotting a storm on the outside. Workaholic on the outside, getting to the front, on the inside, Sven Hanover tries to fight him off, closing also Ron B. Hanover. It's going to be Workaholic home for Bernie Lindstedt at 157-1. He has won the first leg of the Breeders' Crown Series.
What a difference a year can make. It was Prakas 5th in that particular race 1 year ago as a 2-year-old, and Workaholic coming through as the victor in the race. But Workaholic has not had half the season that Prakas has. Prakas has been a $1 million horse. In fact, $1,200,000 in earnings. Right now, let's join Fergie Alver.
Thank you, John Wells. I'd like you people out there to meet our racing analyst, Earl Lennox. And Earl, we have had 3 trotting races so far in the Breeders' Crown Series. All 3 have been won by Super Bowl offspring.
That's right, the 2-year-old fillies, 2-year-old colts in the age trotting division. And tonight, number 7 in the Breeders' Crown, Ron B. Hanover, with Father Soren of Team Nordin driving, will carry Super Bowl's hopes.
We've had a bit of controversy surround this race. A horse owned and driven by Ben Webster was not allowed to race, so we asked the chairman of the Ontario Racing Commission to comment on it, Frank Drea. The Ontario Racing Commission barred Flackbait from racing here tonight. Why?
His owner, Ben Webster, is barred in New York State, therefore he's barred in Ontario.
Is that an automatic?
Yes, it is.
Now, what about the $10,000 entry fee?
Yeah.
Must he pay that?
Yes, he has to pay that, and he knew full well what he was doing, because he tried several ways to get a license here, but he backed off when he found out he'd be cross-examined under oath by me.
So Flackbait is out, and we do have a field of 8 3-year-old colts going to the post, and there they are. Prakas and Mark 6 will go as an entry. Prakas driven by John Campbell, and Jan Nordin will go behind Mark 6. They are listed at 7-5. Neville E. Jason at 10-1. Another Miracle listed at 5-1.
Another miracle won earlier this fall at Mohawk. The number 4 horse is Del Grotto, a New Jersey Sire Stakes horse, at 15-1. Number 5, Pigvar, with the Hall of Famer Stanley Dancer, goes off at 8-1. 7, Ron B. Hanover with Soren Nordin at 12-1. And 8, Workaholic from the outside, 8-1.
This is the Breeders' Crown.
The Breeders' Crown is being brought to you by First Jersey Securities. Come grow with us. And by U.S. Air, with service to over 100 cities across the U.S. and Canada. And by Castleton Farm, tradition of excellence, commitment to the future.
We're back, and as mentioned earlier, the Breeders' Crown, race number 6 from Campbellville, Ontario, Mohawk Raceway. I'm John Wells once more, and did you ever wonder exactly how the breakdown of this money distribution for a race as rich as this, over $600,000 in total prize money? Let's look at how it breaks down. For the first place winner, over $300,000, $305,947, or 50% of the total purse. Second prize of $152,000. Third prize $72,000. The fourth prize over $48,000. And fifth place is worth $30,000 in the Breeders' Crown tonight. As far as breaking it down and where all that money comes from, the Stallion Fund, with Stallions paying in at February 15th payment of $146. 79 Colts on April the 15th paid in at $157, and then it comes down to $115,000 payout, $119,000 payout for the Colts, who entered at $10,000. Right now, let's join Fergie Oliver once more.
Well, thank you, John Wells. Where will it all stop? Boy, the purses they're racing for, Earl Lennox.
Seems unbelievable from when you and I first owned horses, Fergie. And we still don't have one going for this kind of money.
An outstanding field, of course, headed by Prakas and Mark 6, coupled as an entry.
Yes, they have common ownership. Hans Engren owns the one horse, which he leases to his two partners on the other.
Well, the question is, will we see a big upset tonight? What we'd like to do now is show you the field. So let's look at the field of 8. This is Prakas, the fastest trotter in the history of the sport, with career winnings of over $1.5 million. He won the Hamiltonian in straight heats. This was the second heat.
On the rail with the lead by
in the second heat of the Hamiltonian, he drew off from the field with a rather easy victory, Fergie, drifting out through the stretch, but looking very confident in the 1985 Hamiltonian. He won the Founders Gold Cup at Vernon Downs in 156, and he won divisions of the Historic Cup and the Beacon Course at the Meadowlands before the Hamiltonian.
Prakas is going to win the 1985 Hamiltonian, and he has done.
And after he won the Hamiltonian, he went to Du Quoin and the World Trotting Derby. This was the second heat, and he sets a world record, 153-2.
The old world mark was held by Fancy Crown and Cornstalk at 153 4/5. Again, Prakas drifting out in the stretch, but they couldn't close on him in this one. He was working on a big win streak, and this was his last race before Lexington, where he dropped 2 heats to nearly perfect.
And now let's go to Mark 6, winner of 13 of 26 starts. He will race as an entry with Prakas.
Mark 6 from the Team Nordin stable. Jan Nordin is the driver. Joseph Kroll, the trainer. He's won $587,000 lifetime.
And this was the Canadian Trotting Classic at Greenwood in Ontario. He defeats Prakas in 159-2.
Prakas trying to get to him, but Mark 6 wins the 1985 Canadian Trotting Classic.
Neville Jason, a son of Noble Gesture, was a $197,000 yearling purchase at Tattersall's.
Neville Jason, a relative outsider, with only a very few starts going into this race, 7 wins and 24 trips to the post.
Another miracle, purchased for $10,000 in Kentucky. He's won over $800,000.
Mickey McNichol is the driver. Joe Caroluzzi is the trainer. Here's the final of the Simcoe Stakes at Mohawk this fall. And another miracle broke the track record, trotting in 159 for catch driver Ron Waples. Mickey McNichol will be here tonight.
Second, Mark 6 third. Another miracle home for Ron Waples, and the mile in a new track record, 159.
Del Grotto, a son of Lindy's Crown, who has been plagued by lameness most of the year, but he has still managed to win over $180,000.
Local driving star Trevor Ritchie is in the bike. Del Grotto missed half of July, all of August, and all of September.
Pigvar, driven by Hall of Famer Stanley Dancer, the son of Bonefish.
An exquisitely bred son of Bonefish. He's a brother to Filly of Soul, owned by the Clearview Stables of New Canaan, Connecticut.
And this is Ron B. Hanover, winner of over $700,000. He was second to Prakas at the World Trotting Derby. He is blind in the right eye.
He is driven by Father Soren Nordin of the Team Nordin stable, a winner of $706,000. He won the Zweig Memorial at Syracuse, his career best in that one, 156 4.
Workaholic, another winner of over $700,000, and he was the 2-year-old trotting colt of the year last year. That's your field for the 1985 Breeders' Crown. This is the Breeders' Crown.
A quick look around Campbellville reveals a peaceful, somewhat sleepy little village. The population, 700. Some locals joke that the whole town could cram into the dining room at the racetrack for Sunday dinner. The buildings are picture book material. Many reflect the glorious past in rural Canada, 150 years ago. It's a village nestled into beautiful rolling hills, a setting at its very best in the brilliant bright gold of autumn. But while Campbellville appears quiet and serene, its exterior is somewhat misleading. Beneath is a bustling rural economy, a glance in any direction, and it's easy to figure that this is horse country. But it's not Kentucky, not by a long shot. There are no sprawling bluegrass meadows along the roadside, and there are very few famous farm names on the mailboxes. Yet near Campbellville, just about everyone has some involvement in the standard-bred racing industry. These farms are working farms. For most, racing is a love, but still very much a sideline. And it's been that way on many of these century-old farms since most can remember. The farms nearby are the roots of the standard-bred industry in Canada. And while it may be a sideline to many, there is money being made. This is the Canadian Standard-Bred Horse Society sale at Woodbine.
15, 17, 35, you got 5? Yeah!
Here, the bloodlines run strong and deep. Breeding is another growing industry in the area. Laryngitis, who sired the famous General D. Brooke, stands stud in a farm just down the way. It's the tradition of standard-bred racing in the area that has spanned a successful raceway 30 miles from downtown Toronto. Here, while there are barns for 750 horses, an equal number roll in from hundreds of small farms in the area, just for an evening of racing. And while that is not quite the case for the 6th Breeders' Crown tonight, it is what makes Mohawk Raceway and Campbellville, Ontario, Canada, a special place. Big-time racing in the tradition of the old country fair. This is an area rich in traditions of hockey as well. Southern Ontario, and every once in a while, hockey and harness racing get together. With me, Rod Sealing, who spent some great years with the New York Rangers, 11 in total, now the executive director of racetracks in Canada. Tell me about those old days with the New York Rangers.
Well, John, it was a very gratifying time in my life. It was also a time when I got to learn more about harness racing. In fact, really my first introduction to harness racing was during those years. Jill Vilmer and I used to go to Roosevelt Raceway every morning and jog and train a few horses before I went to practice. And at the same time, my family was getting involved in harness racing back here.
You come by it very honestly. A town not far from here, Elmira, is where you got a little bit of start in harness racing.
That's right. We have a track in Elmira. In fact, that's where I retired from hockey here to manage the racetrack in Elmira, and I left there to take my current position.
When you look at this and you've got $600,000 on the line in a Breeders' Crown race tonight, it seems to me to be just a little bit unbelievable for an area like this. And although it is a very rich harness area, it's an awful lot of money.
It's an awful lot of money no matter how you count it, whether you go back to the years when we played or you count it today. It's an awful lot of money, but I think it speaks well for the industry. It's doing something that I think we in harness racing and racing in general want to accomplish it. And the very fact that we're on here talking today speaks well the success of it, that we are getting on television, we are making people aware that we are an industry, we are a great sport, and that we have something to offer that is interesting and entertaining to people all across the country.
Thank you very much, Rod. We're all looking forward to it tonight. This is the Breeders' Crown.
From Mohawk Raceway in Campbellville, Ontario, it's the Breeders' Crown. And welcome back again. Do you know that in the province of Ontario, they give away over $7 million to the Ontario Sire Stakes? And what a program it is, Earl Lennox.
Well, they don't just give it away. These colts have had to earn it all summer, Fergie, and they've been battling it out. And tonight is almost like a championship race. Most of the best colts who have raced all summer on the series are in this 9th race.
And there you look at the field. Trot, the number 1 horse, has made close to $50,000 this year. The big winner, though, has been Keeson's Beau, the number 2 horse, a winner of almost $160,000. He hasn't been too sharp lately, Earl Lennox.
No, his driver, Lyle MacArthur, was telling me earlier tonight he got sick with a virus in early September. They gave him a short rest, re-qualified him, but he hasn't been sharp since. He started him 4 times, raced him from in front and behind, and he's still just not at his best.
Well, the favorite in this field, the number 5 horse, is Winsome Skipper. driven by Doug Brown and trained by Stu Furlot. Winsome Skipper has made just over $25,000, so that just shows you. But Jambo Maker, a big winner in the Ontario Sire Stakes Series, a winner of close to $140,000.
Right, Jambo Maker was a $6,000 yearling purchase right here at Mohawk Raceway, and he didn't start as a 2-year-old, but he's made up for it this year.
Well, the field lining up behind the starting gate, and we're about, I'd say 20 minutes away from the Breeders' Crown. Of course, they're going for over $600,000, but we thought we'd show you folks all over North America something about Ontario-sired colts here. It's an invitation pace. The purse tonight, well, it's not a stake race, just an overnight race going for $10,000. But the horse to watch, Keeson's Bow with Lyle MacArthur in the sulky. He is not the favorite. The favorite is Winsome Skipper, the 5-horse with Doug Brown. And now let's go up top to track announcer Dan Lozelle as the field straightens out on the backstretch.
This field is now in motion, and there they go. They're off and pacing. That's Daryl Seelster away quickly between horses down along the inside. Toronto as they move for the first turn. Toronto with a rail advantage. Daryl Seelster coming on the extreme outside as they move for the first turn. And in between horses, Chocolate Topping as they move through the turn. Daryl Seelster on the far outside with a neck advantage. Chocolate Topping is second. Down at the rail, Toronto is third. Winsome Skipper on the outside is fourth, and moving up, Keeson's Bow is fifth. Jambo Maker is sixth. The opening quarter was in 28-4. As they move in front of the grandstand, Daryl Seelster drives for and gets the lead. Racing second, Chocolate Topping, but very quickly up on the outside, here comes Winsome Skipper. Winsome Skipper up on the outside to assume command for Doug Brown. Daryl Seelster is now second. Pacing in third, Chocolate Topping. Trotta is fourth. Racing fifth, down at the rail, that is Rosie's Jade. Outside in sixth, Jambo Maker. Showing seventh is Keeson's Bow. Young Spirit is eighth and Aerator ninth. They straighten to the backstretch off a half and 57-4. Down the backstretch they go. Winsome Skipper leads by a length and a quarter. Daryl Seelster a tight second. Up on the outside, Toronto is third. Pacing in fourth, Jambo Maker. Racing fifth, Chocolate Topping. Young Spirit is now sixth. Showing seventh, Rosie's Jade, and off stride he goes. Eighth is Keeson's Bow, and showing ninth, Aerator, and they move to 3/4, and Winsome Skipper gets them over there, 127-3. He leads at a length. On the outside, Daryl Seelster is applying pressure. Down at the rail, Toronto is third. Racing fourth, Jambo Maker. Young Spirit is fifth. As they move over to the head of the stretch, they're going to have to catch Winsome Skipper. That's Winsome Skipper with the lead, drifting out. Toronto coming through down along the rail. Daryl Seelster is third. Jambo Maker full of pace on the far outside. Jambo Maker and Toronto. It's Jambo Maker on the far outside. Here comes Young Spirit.
Well, Jambo Maker got up in the final few strides to win that one. Jambo Maker with Steve Condren in the sulky. Steve Condren, of course, one of the top drivers around here. He just recently returned from Australia and New Zealand, where he was over driving in a world championship.
That's right, and Steve's had a big night tonight with several winners. Jambo Maker's been good all season. He was especially good at the beginning of the season. Young Spirit has just come on late in the season, and the two of them are right together at the wire.
Well, you can add another $5,000 to Jambo Maker, puts him up to $143,000. You're watching the Breeders' Crown. Back to Mohawk Raceway in Campbellville, Ontario. As you look at the odds board, the entry of Prakas and Mark 6, 3-5 listed. The number 2 horse, Neville Jason, at 9-1. The number 3 horse, Another Miracle, at 5-1. But the favorite is on the track, Prakas, tonight driven by John Campbell.
This is the first time John Campbell has driven Prakas. He's a Speedy Crown from the Stars Pride mare, Prudy Hanover, owned by Hans Engren of New Oxford, I. Mackenzie of York, and C. Vizzy of Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Prakas, of course, has made over $1.5 million. And the other half of the entry, Mark 6, with Jan Nordin in the sulky, a winner of over $589,000.
Speedy Scott Colt from the Team Nordin stable, and he has won $587,000 lifetime, of course, most of it, as you mentioned, Fergie, this year.
And there's Neville Jason, the number 2 horse, who will be coming out of the number 1 post position. A winner of just over $68,000.
That's something we should point out, that the entry Prakas and Mark 6 score from posts 5 and 7. Neville Jason, a bit of a surprise entry in the Breeders' Crown. He's won 7 of 24, but has only earned $56,000 this year. Peter Rosito, the driver.
And the 3 horse, Another Miracle, will be coming out of the number 2 post position, driven by Mickey McNichol, a winner of over $870,000.
Mickey McNichol passed up a drive in a $1,300,000 race for 2-year-old Pacers at Garden State tonight, but he felt he owed it to his owner, Jack Landis, whose Sunbird stable owns Another Miracle.
And the number 4 horse, Del Grotto, a winner of over $180,000, and local driving favorite, Trevor Ritchie in the sulky.
And we mentioned earlier, Del Grotto missed half of July, all of August, and all of September, but he's been quite impressive in 3 recent New Jersey Sire Stakes appearances at Garden State. His most recent, just last week, October 21st, where he was second in 158-4.
And the number 5 horse, Pigvar, with the Hall of Famer Stanley Dancer in the sulky.
A Bonefish Colt from Pomponette, making him a full brother to Fillet of Soul, and the Clearview Stables of New Canaan, Connecticut, is the owner.
A winner of just over $161,000. And Ron B. Hanover, a winner of over $700,000, with Soren Nordin, the other half of the Nordin family in the sulky. Of course, he's the father.
That's right. He's the Super Bowl hope in tonight's Breeders' Crown. He's won 5 of 28 races. His biggest win was the Zweig Memorial at Syracuse, where he trotted in 156-4.
And the number 8 horse, Workaholic, last year's 2-year-old trotting champion, a winner of just over $700,000.
Workaholic is a Speedy Crown from the good Speedy Count broodmare, Ah So.
So that's our field tonight for the Breeders' Crown, and if I can just look over my shoulder, we're about 9 minutes away from post time, Earl Lennox, and you know, every time you get a field like this assembled, so many different things can happen, but one thing is for certain, you've got the best trotters here in North America tonight, and why shouldn't we? Over $600,000 Canadian on the line.
That's right. Prakas is dead sharp. We were here this morning taking pictures of him, and he reared up right up on his hind legs and lashed out 2 or 3 times. His groom said, "Save it for tonight, boy."
If you're looking for an upset in this race, who do you look at?
I think Mickey McNichol's horse, Another Miracle, has the best shot to upset Prakas. He beat him with another horse at Lexington, Nearly Perfect.
All right, stay with us. This is the Breeders' Crown. Well, with 7 minutes to post time, there you can see the overwhelming favorite at 2-5, the entry of Prakas and Mark 6. The number 2 horse, Neville Jason, 17-1. 3 and 4 horses, that's Another Miracle, and Del Grotto at 7-1. The 5 horse, Pigvar, 23-1. Of course, the 6 horse, Flackbait, has not been entered, or at least he's been scratched, I should say. The 7 horse at 11-1, that's Ron B. Hanover, and Workaholic, last year's 2-year-old trotting champion, at 18-1. Well, Prakas, the number 1 horse, has a new driver tonight in John Campbell, and what difference should that make, Earl Lennox?
Well, I don't think it'll make a whole lot of difference. John Campbell has driven so many good horses, he has no problem jumping up behind him. This horse has 3 owners, Hans Engren, Ian McKenzie, and Carl Vizzi.
Let's find out what John Campbell thinks about sitting behind this horse.
John, you haven't driven Prakas before. How do you warm up, and what'll be your strategy?
Well, as far as never driving, I don't see that as a problem. I've watched him race all year, and I know pretty well the way he's raced. As far as warming up, he seemed to handle the track real well warming up. Didn't have any trouble at all. And his strategy is something you're going to have to play by ear. See what happens when the gate folds. You know, he's raced well in front, he's raced well from behind, so he's very versatile that way. So it's just kind of a play-by-ear thing, and take it as it comes.
Well, play by ear, take it as it comes. They're going for $600,000. The other half of the entry, Mark 6. Jan Nordin is in the sulky. And what about Nordin?
Well, Jan Nordin's had a lot of success. He won this event last year with Baltic Speed in world record time at Pompano, so he's no stranger to the winner's circle in 3-year-old Colt Trots in the Breeders' Crown Series. And this colt is leased by McKenzie and Vizzi. McKenzie and Vizzi leased the horse from their partner on Prakas, Hans Engren.
All right, well, we talked to Jan prior to this race, so let's find out what he had to say. Driver Jan Nordin, how sharp is Mark 6?
Well, it's a little hard to tell because he hasn't been racing for a while. We scratched him in the last trip out at Lexington. He had a sore foot then. But we trained him in 58 last week, and he warmed up about the same way as he did when he was up here the last time in the Simcoe
Well, that's not a bad training mile, is it, Earl? Trained in 58 seconds. You're looking there at the number 2 horse, and that, of course, is Neville Jason.
Neville Jason was bred by Castleton Farm of Lexington, Kentucky, and as you mentioned earlier, Fergie, he cost $197,000 as a yearling. He has a long way to go in earning back that yearling purchase price, but he seems to be on the right track, if we can use the expression tonight.
Well, he could get it all back in one kick of the cat right here tonight, and that's what makes that series so important to the big breeders and, of course, to anyone that happens to get lucky in this game and come up with a decent racehorse. Another miracle. Talk about decent racehorses, a winner of over $870,000, and he is driven by Mickey McNichol.
Well, Mickey McNichol passed up a drive with one of his own horses, a horse that he shared ownership in tonight at Garden State, going for $1,300,000 to come here and drive. Another miracle. The horse won the Simcoe Stakes earlier this year for Ron Waples, and but Mickey made the trip up. He felt he owed it to his owner, Jack Landis, whose Sunbird stable owns Another Miracle.
A very nice gesture by Mickey McNichol. We spoke to him. Mickey McNichol, you're driving Another Miracle tonight, and your horse is a front runner. Will you try to go to the lead out of the 2-hole?
Fergie, I'll try to get there, but Prakas came along, I'd probably let him go. But I'm going to try to get him in position. He's been a trip horse all year, and if he gets things his way, he'd be right there at the wire.
His only major stakes victory, a $137,000 race right here at Mohawk, the Simcoe Stakes. He won rather handily.
He likes this track. Ronnie drove him that night, Waples, and he got nice trip, good cover, and he won it pretty easy. And he's been all over the track already, and he'll make a good account of himself.
Well, his last start, he went in 1:57-1, so that's not a bad mile on anybody's track, is it?
It's a good prep for this colt. The number 4 horse, Del Grotto, by Lindy's Crown, missed 2.5 months this summer. He was one of the top 2-year-old trotters in North America last year. He's done extremely well in the New Jersey program. He's had 2 thirds and a second in his last 3 starts.
What about Hall of Famer Stanley Dancer, who's on the number 5 horse, Pig Bar? Well, what a career he's had.
He has, and this horse has an unusual name, but a great pedigree. Norman Woolworth's Clearview Stables of New Canaan, Connecticut, bred and owns the horse. He's won 8 of 25 races and $158,000 this year. And I think Stanley, he doesn't often come to Canada if he doesn't have a shot.
Well, he's got a mark of 158 on a 5/8 mile. We had a chance to chat with the old veteran a little earlier this evening. Hall of Famer Stanley Dancer. Stanley, how fast do you think tonight's Breeders' Crown will go?
Well, Fergie, it's a little bit on the chilly side, but I wouldn't miss too much between 58 and 59, and all depends on the early fractions in the race, but there's a lot of early speed in there, which usually sets it up for a pretty good mile, and the track's excellent, so I think they'll go good.
You're driving a horse with a bit of a strange name in Pig Bar. How good is he, Stanley?
Well, his name, it came from Woolworth. He names them always after fish and Swedish. But he's a real nice horse. He won the Colonial, and he did beat Prakas in that race. That's not too often, but he did do it once. And I'd have to be awful lucky. You got to be that way in any race, I think. But I think he's got an outside chance, and you always go out there hoping for the best. But he is a nice horse, and he usually behaves himself. Once in a while, maybe he doesn't, but I think every race but about 2 he has.
Boy, I'll tell you, Stanley Dancer has really been a great ambassador for harness racing. He's been coming to Canada for many, many years now. The 7-horse, Ron B. Hanover. The fact that he's blind in his right eye, obviously that hasn't affected his racing.
Well, he has the 8 holes, so it doesn't matter because there are no horses outside of him tonight.
Has that, or could that be a factor, Earl?
Well, if the horse gets boxed in with a lot of excitement and noise outside of him, it could be a factor. But he's had a lot of experience, and he's been raced in all kinds of situations all year.
And the 2-year-old trotting champion last year, Workaholic, the number 8 horse, he hasn't had a bad year. He's won over $341,000, but he's had 5 wins this year, 9 wins last year. What's happened to him? Obviously it hasn't been that serious because financially he's still having a good year.
Well, he's been right there getting checks all the time, but the horse has failed to make it to the winner's circle since mid-July, Fergie. Again, a great bred colt. He isn't just as big and strong as some of the others. Perhaps that's why he had an advantage as a 2-year-old. He was compact and mature at the time, but then as the 3-year-olds have come on, he's just not as big and bold as they are, and it seems that they have more power at this point.
Well, let's have a look at the odds board now as the horses are lining up behind the starting gate for the $600,000 Breeders' Crown for 3-year-old trotters. The entry, Prakas and Mark 6 listed at 1-5. The 2-horse, Neville Jason, 17-1. The 3-horse, Another Miracle, listed at 5-1. The 4-horse, Del Grotto at 14-1. The 5-horse at 30-1. That's Pig Bar. The 7-horse, Ron B. Hanover, at 11-1. And the 8-horse, Workaholic, it listed at 18-1. Just an incredible field of horses here as they make their turn and head into the backstretch. Quickly, Earl Lennox, a winner?
Well, I would go with Another Miracle if there's anybody can upset Prakas, but I do believe he is the best horse.
So let's go to track announcer Dan Lozelle now and the Breeders' Crown. Dan?
8 of North America's finest 3-year-old trotters in behind that starting gate, ready to contest the richest standardbred race in Canadian history, the Breeders' Crown. And they're off. Down along the inside with the lead, that is Neville Jason. Driving out very quickly from the far outside moves Prakas. Prakas up on the outside to assume command. Now in between horses in second, that is Another Miracle. Del Grotto is on the outside in third. Neville Jason is fourth. Workaholic is fifth. Pigvar is sixth. Del Grotto is off stride on the outside. Mark 6 is seventh, and Ron B. Hanover is eighth. And they move over to the quarter-mile mark, and John Campbell gets Prakas over there in 28-1 as they move in front of the grandstand. Prakas leads it a length and a half. Another Miracle right in behind him. Neville Jason is third with Workaholic trotting in fourth. Pigvar is caught first over in fifth with Mark 6 sixth. Ron B. Hanover is seventh, and Del Grotto is back down trotting in eighth as they swing around the clubhouse turn towards the half-mile mark. Prakas is cutting out this mile. Another Miracle is second. Neville Jason is third. Pigvar is still first over in fourth. They trot to the backstretch off a half and 59 seconds flat. Racing fifth down along the inside, that's Workaholic. On the outside in sixth is Mark 6. Ron B. Hanover is seventh, and Del Grotto is eighth. 3/8 to go. Prakas in control by 2. Another Miracle with a 2-hole trip. Neville Jason is third. On the outside in fourth, going 3 wide now, there goes Mark 6 as they move towards 3/4. Prakas opens to 3. He's asked for more by John Campbell, and he responds. Prakas by 3, 3/4, 1:27-4. Prakas widening out by 5 now. Another Miracle is second. Neville Jason is third. Workaholic coming through down along the rail to be fourth. Inside the 8th pole, Prakas just dominating this field. He opens to 6. Another Miracle is second. Workaholic closing down along the inside. John Campbell and Prakas, they win the 1985 Breeders' Crown and the mile in a new track record, 1:57-1.
Well, what a race. Prakas 1:57-1, and as Dan Lozelle said, is this horse ever dominating this field? That's exactly what he did.
Well, at the 3/4, he started to open up, Fergie, and he lowered the track record by almost 2 full seconds. The old mark set by Another Miracle was 1:59. He knocked 1 4/5 seconds off that tonight and literally destroyed the field. There'll be an inquiry for second here. It appeared that Neville Jason got up on the outside, but he was off stride, and it looks like Workaholic, who came through on the rail, probably will be placed second. But there will be an inquiry, of course. But no inquiry with regards to Prakas. He went to the front and gradually improved his position.
Well, Mickey McNichol, if you remember what he said in our interviews earlier, he said when asked about whether or not he would go to the lead, he said yes, he would try to, but he said if Prakas comes, I'll let him go. That's exactly what happened.
Well, he didn't really have to let him go because he went before Mickey had a chance to let him go. Well, when the gate opened, Prakas flew to the front and had a clear 2-length lead as they went into that first turn.
Well, Another Miracle had a perfect trip, really.
He did.
He sat in the catbird seat and let Prakas go and see if he could pick up some money. But as it turned out, the horse that will probably finish second will be Workaholic, last year's 2-year-old trotting champion. But what a trotting machine right there. The winner, Prakas. He has now won $1,800,000. This is the Breeders' Crown.
Back live at Mohawk Raceway, Campbellville, Ontario. Race 6 of the Breeders' Crown is history. The winner's enclosure, the celebration continues for the horse Prakas and the driver, John Campbell. A $305,000 victory and some happy owners of Prakas, a $1 million horse a couple of weeks ago. $1.8 million in earnings so far, and in world record time, 1:57.1. That is a world record for a 3-year-old trotter on a 5/8 mile track. Prakas, the winner in a walk. Fergie?
Well, thank you, John Wells and Earl Lennox, as they line up there in the winner's circle, and John Wells gets ready possibly to talk to John Campbell and maybe some of the owners. And there you see George Gross, the editor, the sports editor of the Toronto Sun. What a magnificent effort by Prakas. I think we should have another look at that tremendous victory.
That's right. The old world record of 1:57.2 was co-held by Arndon. He did it in Bluebonnets, and Baltic Speed in this event last year tied it at Pompano. On a cool night tonight, that makes Prakas's world record performance even more impressive.
Well, he does hold the world's record on a mile track, 1:53.2. Let's have another look at Prakas winning here tonight, the Breeders' Crown.
Down along the inside with the lead, that is Neville Jason.
He gets away pretty good here, Earl, as you hear Dan Lozelle in the background.
Prakas up on the outside.
Prakas goes right to the lead. Another miracle.
Between horses in second, that is another miracle.
Cleared the field very quickly, and at this point, John Campbell looked over his shoulder to see who was coming, and it was Del Grotto off stride. So he began to back the horse off. Despite the fact he was backing him off, he still trotted a quarter in 28.1. You just wonder how much speed he would have shown had he been able to trot wide open all the way to the quarter. His next quarter mile, he got a breather. He trotted down to the half in 59 seconds with a quarter in 30.4.
And Pigvar, of course, the Stanley Dancer, parked on the outside, and you knew it was pretty well game over for him. He couldn't find a seat on the rail.
Got a very tough trip. Again, another miracle, getting a perfect trip. And Neville Jason along the rail also got a very good trip here as they went to the half. Pigvar moved up on the outside, and Workaholic was also hemmed in. He had started from the number 9 post position, trailing Neville Jason away, and he stayed right on his back as they went past the half.
Well, the half, there you see it, 59 seconds flat, and look at Prakas. The trotting machine just starts to open up and move away from the field. Another miracle, sitting in the number 2 position. I thought a big race effort, though, by Neville Jason, a horse that had won just over $68,000, his son of noble gesture.
Well, Neville Jason still hemmed in on the rail as Pigvar begins to tire. Mark 6 moved up 3 wide, 3 quarters in 1:27.4, so that quarter down the backstretch in 28.4, and he's really opening up on them here. It's all over.
But a new world record on a 5/8 mile track, 1:57.1, and of course he holds the world trotting record, period, 1:53.2 on a mile racetrack. But you can see why, the way he dominated this field. Well, John Wells, as you look at Prakas crossing the finish line, is standing in the winner's circle, and he has some guests. John?
Well, some very happy owners down here, Fergie, and let's go first to Hans, and maybe you could speak for the owners and give us a feeling, Mr. Ingren, on just how it feels. Sort of an easy payday, was it?
Well, it was a wonderful payday, but more than that, I think we're very grateful to win this race, because the last time out, our horse was a little sick, and he came back in the cold weather tonight and set a world record in the Breeders' Cup, which has really, or Breeders' Crown, which has really topped off our year for us.
Over to Per Eriksson, the trainer, for just one moment. What kind of a night is this for you?
This is unbelievable for me. I think it's great. It's great.
Would you tell us just a little bit about your horse?
Oh, what can I say? He, it looks like he can do everything. Tonight he left with him and from the gate, and he took the lead easy, and he took him back. He can do everything in the race, looked like it.
Obviously, you're very proud of your driver tonight, John Campbell. If you'll just step in here, John, it looks like you knew you had that one all the way.
Well, he felt real strong the whole mile. He did everything. I never turned the whip around on him. He was really comfortable at the wire. He's just a great horse.
Was there any point in the race where you had any worry at all, any concern?
No, once we got to the gate and he got out of there in the right foot, I was confident. He just felt so strong the whole mile.
Rate this horse with some of the others that you've seen and you've driven.
Well, there's no comparison. He's just the greatest trotter that I've ever driven. He's just a pleasure to sit behind, and it was just an honor to drive him.
World record time as well.
Yeah, it sure was. I'd like to say hello to Paula and Lisa Michelle back in New Jersey. I know they're watching.
Okay, thank you for that. What does it mean when you set a world record out here on a night like tonight?
Well, it means that on a warmer night, I know he'd have gone a second and a half, 2 seconds faster for sure. And he was very comfortable. He could have gone even faster here tonight if he'd have been pushed.
Potential of that horse?
It's unlimited, and I think he's proved that all through the years. He's raced consistently right from start to finish.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations once more. Okay, Fergie, take it away.
Thank you, John, and let's have a look at what the winner Prakas paid as we have a look at the prices here at Mohawk Raceway in Campbellville. $270, $230, $210. Workaholic finishing second, paying $590, $210. Another Miracle third, $210. You're watching the Breeders' Crown. And what a pleasure it is to be showing you this race tonight. You've just seen a world record performance. Prakas 157-1 on a 5/8 mile track. And of course, we'll be with you 1 week from today from Northlands Park in Edmonton for the 3-year-old filly Pacers. And a local horse by the name of Breeze Brief has an excellent chance in that one, Earl Lennox.
That's right. Breeze Brief has been very good in Canada all year, and she recently won at Garden State better than 154, so she's coming up to the race sharp. As Per Eriksson said tonight, Prakas has done everything. He left tonight, and he absolutely swept the field away.
All right, let's go back to the winner's circle, and here's John Wells.
Okay, Fergie, things have quieted down here just a little bit right now as the owners of Prakas head off to celebrate somewhere, I'm sure. Again, the order of finish: Prakas first, Workaholic second, and Another Miracle didn't have quite enough miracles to finish anywhere but third. But an outstanding race. Next week, we move on, Breeders' Crown Series, to Edmonton Northlands. It'll be race 7 for 3-year-old fillies. We look forward to bringing you that one. And for Fergie Oliver, I'm John Wells. Good night.